Okay, so we've got some interesting fan analysis here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a ranking of Death Note characters, and
Yeah,
these two fans really, they've given us a lot to think about.
definitely a lot to unpack here.
Like, why are these characters so iconic? What is it about them?
And what
And yeah,
makes a good character in the first place, right?
yeah,
Like, what are we looking for?
right, exactly. And we're gonna sort of use their opinions as a jumping off point, I guess, to
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to
yeah.
kind of get into the minds of Death Note fans,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely, and see what what they love about these characters, what they hate about these characters, um, everything in between, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we can even pull in some of our own insights too.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind
So,
of fun.
yeah, definitely. So let's start with the I guess the main character, the character that sort of kicks the whole thing off,
Right.
Light Yagami.
Light Yagami, the infamous Light Yagami.
Right, like this perfect high school student, at least on the surface, right?
He's got it all going for him.
Yeah, and then he finds the Death Note.
Yeah. And things take a bit of a turn.
It's a bit of an understatement, right?
Just a tad, yeah.
Yeah. So these fans, they gave him like a perfect 10 out of 10
For intelligence.
for intelligence, right?
Yeah.
But then a 2 out of 10 for morality,
Yeah.
which
That's a pretty stark contrast there.
yeah, like that's I mean, he is kind of
I mean, he's a mass murderer, right?
yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But then they gave him another 10 out of 10 for impact on the story.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
So what do you make of that?
It seems like you don't have to be a good person to be a good character.
Right.
Like you can still have a huge impact on the story.
And be super compelling to watch.
Yeah, yeah. Like the source material here, they call him a compelling protagonist.
Yeah, you want to know what he's going to do next? You're invested.
Right. And they also point out his like huge ego. Like his ego is like off the charts.
Yeah, his God complex.
Yeah. And I think that's part of what makes him so interesting to watch is that he's just got this massive ego driving everything he does.
That ambition.
Yeah.
It's almost like you kind of admire it in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like it's scary, but it's also kind of
It's magnetic.
right, magnetic, exactly.
You're drawn to it.
Yeah. So I guess the question for for everyone listening is like, why are we so drawn to characters like this?
Yeah. What is it about a morally great character or even a villain
Yeah.
that can still keep us hooked?
Yeah. And I think Death Note really plays with that.
It does. It does. It makes you question your own sense of justice almost.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of justice,
Yeah.
we got to talk about L,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Legendary detective.
the legendary detective.
Yeah, and our source material here gives us some pretty great descriptions. Quirky genius, unusual habits, to say the least.
Yeah. His diet is,
Only sweets. Only sweets.
and who can forget that iconic squatting posture?
Right, like who sits like that?
It's just so L.
Yeah, yeah. So the fans that we're looking at, they also gave him a 10 out of 10 for intelligence.
Yeah. No surprise there. He's brilliant.
Yeah. But here's the interesting part. A 7 out of 10 for morality.
Yeah. He's not a saint. That's for sure.
Right, right. So he's definitely willing to bend the rules a little bit to catch Kira.
Well, he's got to keep up with Light somehow.
Right, exactly. And then of course a 10 out of 10 for impact.
I mean, he's just as essential to the story as Light.
Yeah. So what do you think about that morality rating? Like a 7 out of 10 compared to Light's 2?
I think it shows that even though L is willing to operate in those gray areas, he's ultimately driven by a desire for justice.
Right. He's not trying to reshape the world in his image.
No, he's trying to stop someone who is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they really highlight that kind of cat and mouse dynamic between them.
Oh, yeah. The source material calls it addictive. And I think that's spot on.
Yeah. It's just so much fun to watch those two go head to head.
It's like a chess match with incredibly high stakes.
Yeah. What do you think it is about Elle that makes him so appealing to fans?
I think it's that combination of intellect and eccentricity.
Yeah. He's just so different from any other detective character.
And his methods are unorthodox, but they're effective.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to think outside the box.
Yeah, and he's got that whole like, the sweets and the posture and the
hair.
The hair, yeah, like all of that just kind of adds to his mystique.
It makes him memorable.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's move on to some of the supporting characters now. Starting with Misa Amane.
Ah, Misa. Now she's a fascinating one.
Yeah, the fans they use the word complicated to describe her.
Which is fitting.
Yeah. She's got a tragic backstory. She's deeply devoted to Light, but
One of the fans straight up calls her kind of annoying.
yeah. And you can kind of see why.
Yeah. Her devotion to light can be a little much at times.
Yeah, she's very much like, whatever Light says goes.
Yeah, she lacks that independent spirit that some viewers might appreciate.
Yeah, yeah. And her ratings kind of reflect that complexity. She gets a 5 out of 10 for intelligence, a 4 out of 10 for morality.
Which, again, understandable given her willingness to kill for light.
Right, right. And then her impact is kind of split. One fan gives her a 6, the other gives her a 7.
Yeah, there's definitely some debate there about how significant her role really is.
Yeah. So what do you think contributes to this kind of mixed reaction to her?
I think it's that blend of being crucial to the plot, but maybe not as well developed as some viewers would like.
Yeah, the source material mentions that she could have been written better.
Right. But at the same time, they acknowledge she's still an iconic character.
Yeah. So it's like this weird situation where she's both important and...
And kind of frustrating.
Yeah, frustrating, yeah.
You want to root for her, but she makes it hard sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how her defining trait, that intense loyalty, can be both a strength and a weakness.
Right. It drives her actions, but it also kind of limits her as a character.
Exactly. It makes you think about how devotion is portrayed in stories and when it crosses that line from compelling to detrimental.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another very important character, Ryuk.
Ryuk, the Shinigami.
The one who drops the death note and kind of sets the whole thing in motion.
The catalyst for chaos.
Yeah. And the source material is clearly a fan. They call him the GOAT.
I mean, who doesn't love Ryuk?
Right. And his motivations are pretty simple, right? Board wants to see what happens.
And loves those apples.
And loves those apples.
Can't forget the apples.
So the fans, they give him a perfect 10 for entertainment value.
Well, he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's got that whole kind of like dark humor thing going on.
Yeah, and that iconic laugh.
Oh yeah, his laugh is amazing.
So good.
But his morality, of course, is pretty low, a 3 out of 10.
I mean, he is a god of death.
Yeah. And then they give him an 8 out of 10 for impact, which I think is interesting because he's not really...
And not actively involved.
Right, he's not taking sides. He's just kind of...
Observing.
Yeah.
Vibing, as the source puts it.
Yeah. So what do you make of this kind of like chaotic, neutral character?
I think he adds a really interesting layer to this story.
Yeah.
He's a reminder that all this drama, all this conflict,
Yeah.
it's just entertainment for him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like we're all just pawns in his game.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're getting into the successors of L. Nier and Mello.
Okay.
Nier is described as like a mini L, but
lacking the charm.
yeah, the charm. Like that's a pretty big distinction.
Yeah. L had that certain something that Nier just doesn't quite capture.
Right, and his ratings kind of reflect that. 9 out of 10 for intelligence.
Yeah, so almost as smart as L.
Yeah, but only a 6 for morality and then a 7 for impact.
It seems like brains aren't everything.
Yeah. You got to have that presence, that charisma.
That je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. So what do you think makes a character have strong presence?
It's hard to define, but you know it when you see it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the way they carry themselves, the way they talk, their mannerisms,
Their aura.
Yeah, their aura, exactly.
They're just drawn to them.
Yeah. And then there's Mello.
Mello, the other successor.
Right. Who's much more kind of like impulsive.
The bad boy of the group.
Yeah, the bad boy. Yeah. And the source material seems to really like him.
Oh, yeah. They call him underrated.
Yeah. And despite getting an 8 out of 10 for intelligence and a 5 for morality.
So not as smart as Nier, but maybe more interesting.
Yeah, more interesting. Yeah. His impact is actually rated higher at an 8.
And they say he deserved more screen time, which says a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like they're saying, we want more of this character.
We're invested in him.
Yeah. So what do you think it was about Mello that resonated with them so much?
Maybe it's that contrast with Nier.
Yeah.
Nier is very calculated, very controlled.
Right.
Mel is more emotional, more driven by his feelings.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to get his hands dirty.
Exactly. He's willing to take risks.
Yeah. Okay, so finally we have Soichiro Yagami, Light's father.
Oh man, Soichiro.
The source material describes him as a tragic figure.
He really is. He's this beacon of morality in a world that's gone mad.
Yeah, and he gets a perfect 10 out of 10 for morality.
He's trying to do the right thing even when it's incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And his overall rating is an 8 out of 10.
They call him the emotional core of the series.
Yeah, because he represents like the human cost of all this.
The personal stakes.
Yeah. What do you think makes his presence so impactful in this story?
It's his unwavering belief in his son, even when all the evidence is stacked against him.
Yeah, and you can see how much it hurts him when he starts to realize the truth.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, he represents that kind of like traditional sense of justice and family and
And how those things can be corrupted.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so to wrap it all up, the source material shares the fans' final rankings,
All right, let's hear it.
and it looks like L is at the top for both of them.
No surprise there.
Yeah,
He's a fan favorite.
yeah. There's some variation in the middle, but the overall message is pretty clear.
They love these characters,
Yeah, even the ones they ranked lower, they still say are pretty great.
which speaks to the quality of the writing.
Yeah. And they really emphasize that central conflict between Light and L.
That battle of wits,
Mm,
that clash of ideologies.
yeah. So for everyone listening, what do you think? Do you agree with these rankings? Who are your favorite Death Note characters?
How would you rank them?
This deep dive has been all about exploring these characters and why they continue to resonate with fans.
And it's amazing how even the morally gray characters like Light and Misa can still be so compelling.
Yeah, it's that complexity that really makes Death Note so interesting.
And it leaves us with a lot to think about. Why are we drawn to these characters? What do they say about our own views on justice and morality?
Yeah, these are questions that Death Note raises and that we can continue to ponder long after the series is over.
And that's the beauty of a great story. It stays with you.
Yeah.
It makes you